Today we're taking a closer look at the ongoing civil war in Myanmar. The conflict has been raging since 2021 with devastating consequences for people of Myanmar and far-reaching implications for regional security. Welcome to the Asian Chronicle. I am your anchor Gunjan Handa and this is the Chronicle Explained. Let's start with the basics. Myanmar, formerly known as Burma, gained independence from British colonial rule in 1948. Since then, the country has experienced periods of military rule, democracy and civil war. In 1948, the country became an independent nation, but it was plagued by internal conflict and power struggles. In 1962, the military seized power in a coup. The Myanmar became a military dictatorship. The military regime, led by General Ne Win, ruled the country for nearly 3 decades, suppressing opposition and dissent. In 1988, a massive pro-democracy uprising swept across the country, demanding to end the military rule. The military responded with brutal force, killing thousands of protesters and activists. In 2011, Myanmar transitioned to a quasi-democratic government, with Thein Sein as president. Thein Sein's government implemented some reforms, including the release of political prisoners and the relaxation of media censorship. In 2015, Aung San Suu Kyi's National League for Democracy party won a landslide victory in the general elections. Aung San Suu Kyi became the state councillor, a position equivalent to Prime Minister. However, the military known as Tatmadaw retained significant power and influence. The military had 25% of seats in parliament, giving them veto power over constitutional changes. In 2017, the Rohingya crisis erupted. With the military launching a brutal crackdown on the Rohingya Muslim minority, the violence led to the displacement of hundreds of thousands of Rohingya who fled to neighbouring Bangladesh and spread out to other countries from there on. Aung San Suu Kyi's government faced criticism for its handling of the crisis. In 2019, the International Court of Justice ruled that Myanmar must take measures to prevent attacks against Rohingya. As the crisis in Myanmar deepens, thousands of refugees continue to flee to neighbouring countries. As per the UNHCR data, Malaysia has taken in the largest number with over 7,000 asylum applications in 2023. The United States, India, Australia have also received significant numbers of refugees. But the largest refugee population by far is in Bangladesh, where over 1 million Rohingya refugees have fled to escape violence and persecution. In Feb 2021, the military staged a coup, detaining Aung San Suu Kyi and other NLD leaders. The coup sparked widespread protests and a growing resistance movement. The conflict has since escalated into a full-blown civil war, with various ethnic armed groups including the Karen National Union and the Kachin Independence Army joining forces with the resistance movement to fight against the military. The turning point came in October 2023, when the Three Brotherhood Alliance launched Operation 1027, a bold military campaign that seized key areas from junta's control. However, a temporary reprieve was brokered by China in Jan 2024, with a ceasefire that promised to calm the violence. But the junta's continued regression led to ceasefire's collapse, and the Three Brotherhood Alliance relaunched their offensive in June 2024. As the conflict intensified, the junta seemed to grow desperate. In Feb 2024, they announced a mandatory conscription policy forcing young people to flee or take up arms against the regime. The resistance gained momentum, with crucial battles fought in Myaodi, in April 2024. By September 2024, the junta was calling for a peace agreement, but it was met with widespread skepticism by the resistance. The Myanmar civil war has created a humanitarian crisis, with refugees fleeing to neighboring countries including Thailand, India and Bangladesh. The humanitarian crisis is evident, with half the population living in poverty and 1 in 4 struggling with food insecurity, as per the UN data. Soaring inflation that IMF estimates at 22% change and international sanctions aimed at the junta have tightened the economic noose, leaving the people of Myanmar to bear the brunt. The conflict also poses a threat to regional stability, with the potential of spillover violence and terrorism. China, India and ASEAN countries have called for a peaceful resolution to the conflict, but a lasting solution remains elusive. China has significant economic and strategic interests in Myanmar, including the China-Myanmar Economic Corridor or CMEC and access to the Indian Ocean. China has walked a fine line, calling for stability while maintaining ties with the junta. India, on the other hand, has taken a more nuanced approach, calling for democracy and human rights while maintaining diplomatic ties with the military regime. India has also continued to send humanitarian aid to the crisis-stricken nation, including vaccines during COVID and emergency relief supplies during natural disasters. The United States and European Union have imposed sanctions on the junta and called for a return to democracy. So what's the way forward? A lasting solution to the conflict will require a negotiated settlement between the junta, the resistance movement and ethnic armed groups. The Myanmar civil war has significant implications for regional security and stability. The conflict has created a power vacuum which has been exploited by extremist groups and criminal organizations. The conflict has also led to a significant increase in arms trafficking and the proliferation of small arms and light weapons in the region. Since the coup, the Myanmar military has imported at least $1 billion worth of arms, dual-use goods, and to support military domestic arms manufacturing, raw material and manufacturing equipment. As the junta's grip on power continues to slip, the future of Myanmar hangs in the balance. With the resistance gaining ground and junta struggling to maintain control, it's clear that the tide is turning. The junta's desperation is evident in its attempt to cling to power. Its conscription drive has sparked panic among young people, and its retreat to urban strongholds like Yangon and Naypyidaw may be a last-ditch effort to maintain control. But despite the junta's efforts, the resistance is gaining momentum. The National Unity Government, or NUG, is providing essential services like education and healthcare in resistance-controlled areas, and the people are finding ways to circumvent junta censorship and control. So what's next for Myanmar? Will the junta be completely removed from power, or will it manage to cling to a rump state? Can the NUG bring lasting peace to Myanmar, or will the country be divided into ethnic army-controlled regions? Despite the many unknowns, one thing is clear. The people of Myanmar are resilient and determined to build a better future, as the international community watches with bated breath. Stay tuned for more such in-depth explainers with Chronicle Explained. I am Gunjan Handa.